Welcome into sportsbookreview.com. I'm Gary.
I'm Chris.
And this is the SEC 2021 college football preview, and we are stoked about it. If you have watched this show at all, you understand we are SEC guys. This is where our bread is buttered. That's what we do. LSU fan here, Alabama fan right here. That's the way it goes. So before we get started, before we start diving in to a conference that we feel like we know pretty well, go ahead and remind you, please do us a favor. Head over to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. There is a link in the description, and I'm telling you that is the place that you need to go every week, every day, for your college football news, all of your college football gambling content and whatnot. They have an outstanding team over there. So do yourself a favor. Go check that out. Now, while you're down there checking out the description and whatnot, do us a favor. Go ahead and hit that like button. It's a thumbs up button down there. And make sure and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 100,000. We're trying to get this video to 50 likes. That's when the YouTube algorithm goes through the moon and shoots it off to everybody. But yeah, do us that favor. Like the video, subscribe, and make sure that you check us out all season long. College football just doing its thing. That is the way that it goes. Starting off first, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Last year, 13-0, national champions, all kind of fun stuff. Nick Saban continues to do his thing. At SEC Media Days this week, he was joking with everybody. That tends to be a sign that he feels like he's got a pretty good team. But, man, they are young. Returning production at 120 out of 130 teams, or 127 that played last year. But tons of talent. Bryce Young taking over at quarterback. They lost Steve Sarkisian, the offensive coordinator, to Texas. He took some of the staff with him. They replaced the offensive line coach, Kyle Flood, with Doug Maroney, the head coach from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the new offensive coordinator is Bill O'Brien, former head coach at Penn State, former head coach of the Houston Texans in the NFL. And I think that's, I don't want to say it's an upgrade because Sark was almost perfect at calling plays last year, but pretty good. I don't know what it means for this year.
These are two NFL head coaches.
Yes.
Yes, they're really good at coaching football.
Yes, they are. Offense only returns 3 starters this year, but they do have quarterback Bryce Young coming in, first-time starter, and, you know, he's going to have a ton of weapons around him. That's just the way that it goes, that they always do. Offensive line only returns 1 starter. That's Evan Neal, but, again, they got a lot of talent. Defense is where it's going to be this year. This will be the best unit that Pete Golding has ever had. 8 starters back, and they bring in linebacker Henry To'oTo'o, but they got stars all over, man. Malachi Moore, Will Anderson, linebacker, edge rusher. He's going to be a stud. Christian Harris, linebacker, All-American candidate. Defense is loaded. Offense is where you're going to be seeing new faces. But, again, schedule difficult at the beginning of the year. You got all these new faces. You got all this new stuff. These young guys that have not even played in full stadiums in 2 years. Some of them came in as high school freshmen last year, high school freshmen this year. I mean, more than half your team has never played in front of 100,000 people in Gainesville, 100,000 people at Kyle Field. The number's 11.5. I got to go under the 11.5. I think it is way more likely that they lose a game than they go undefeated.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I just think this is a young team. Yes, you always reload, but to assume that it's just your birthright to go undefeated every year is just not realistic.
Yeah, it's not realistic.
The SEC is getting better. A&M is really good. Ole Miss is really good. Florida should be really good. LSU should be better. Like, these are good football teams that you've got to play week in and week out. The fact that you would lose a game is just more probable than not.
Yes, I tend to agree. So, with that said, we're both going under. And, hey, by the way, division odds, -275 to win the West. And conference odds, -150 to win the conference.
Yeah.
Like, everybody else is plus money. Like,
I just think the prices are crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to agree. It's all hype built off last season. That's the way it goes. The Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, you and I had a lot of fun with this team last year. Sam Pittman is almost the perfect cultural fit because that's one of the best things about college football, right?
Yes.
Is these cultural fits that understand how to play inside of a program, how to build a program, because you ain't going to build Arkansas the same way that you're going to build Clemson.
No.
You're not going to build Texas A&M the same way that you would build, Kent State. Like, all these places are different. And Arkansas is very different. Sam Pittman, very different kind of head coach. Yes, sir, all that good stuff. Their win total this year is 6. Like, if you had told me 2 years ago that their win total would be 6 coming into this season,
yep,
I'd have never believed it.
That's right.
But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
I don't either.
To go over is plus 145, so it's juiced quite a bit. To go under is minus 175. This was the most improved defense in all of Power 5 last year. Like, they really showed up. Barry Odom knows what he's doing. He knows his strengths. Defensive line needed help, so they brought in some transfers. Linebacker and secondary should be even better this season. The offense under Kendall Briles, they impressed last season. With Felipe Frank at quarterback, I think they even got a little better with KJ Jefferson, who looks to be the starter this year.
I was about to say, I think he's going to be the starter this year.
Oh, I think he's going to be fantastic. And you got studs, man. Traylon Burks at wide receiver. You got Traylon Smith, who's, I think, going to be great at running back. They got an offensive line, and Sam Pittman knows offensive line.
That's right.
Like, he knows that. Now, I've talked all this big game, but I think that the ceiling for them is 6.
Insane. 6 is high.
Yeah. FPI does project them to go 6-6.
But that's why the price is what it is, though.
Yeah. So I will take the under 6 at minus 175, but I'd love to see them make a bowl game.
You're getting plus 140 something, 45.
Yeah.
For
to go to 7 wins.
To get 7 wins, because it's just super unlikely.
They play A&M on a neutral site. They've got at Georgia, at Ole Miss, at LSU, at Alabama, and then, of course, at home, Missouri, Auburn, Mississippi State. You got Texas coming in. Rice is the first game of the season, and they made improvements last year.
No, come on now.
I understand. I'm throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it out there. I do think that they're going to whip Rice. Don't get me wrong.
Jesus.
But
what are we doing?
You going under as well?
Yeah, I think I have to. I hate that.
I hate that too.
I was looking forward to this number being lower because I didn't think it was going to be big.
Yeah, 6 is crazy, but a lot of
6
hype.
I think 6 is the ceiling, though. I'd love for them to go to 7.
If 2 calls had been made different last season for them, they would have been a 5-5 team.
That's right, and they should have.
Yeah.
They got hosed on both those calls.
Yes, they did.
Both those calls were wrong.
The Auburn Tigers. Brian Harsin comes in from Boise State, has to figure out exactly what to do, so he hires offensive coordinator Mike Bobo from South Carolina. They were old Mountain West buddies back when Bobo was at Colorado State, and he brought in defensive coordinator Derek Mason, who I think works better as a defensive coordinator than a head coach.
Love Derek Mason as DC.
Yes.
Love Derek Mason as a DC.
The question this year will be, can you find any skill players? Can you find any wide receivers? Because they lost all 3 of their big ones last year. And can you somehow teach the bad tendencies out of Bo Nix to make him effective as a passer? We already know he's a good runner.
Or do you have the balls
to go with somebody else?
To start somebody else.
Like TJ Finley, who transferred in from LSU.
Like that's the difference is there's no doubt Bo's going to start this season.
Oh, yes.
But if it goes south quickly, that might be the best thing for Auburn in the long run for the season.
Very much so.
Is to be able to move on from him.
Yes. The entire offensive line comes back.
That's right.
So that's good.
That's
so you got 5 offensive
You're talking about a really good offensive line,
yes.
too.
And the running back, Tank Bigsby, and Sean Shivers, right? So you got a running game.
Yeah. They've got a foundation. You either need Bo to be better, to take a step and to be better, or you need to realize he's not the guy quickly, and preferably in one of these games that you can win.
Yes.
If you get through Akron, Alabama State, Georgia State, and can win those games, but realize Bo's not the dude, that's the best thing that could happen.
Yes. Derek Mason, of course, takes over for Kevin Steele, who everybody thought he was going to get the job. I mean, it was just
I have no idea what Steele's credentials are. I don't think he has the resume to be close.
No.
To a head coach in the SEC. I think that's a little insane to me.
Yeah, well, yeah, but he had the ear of some important people
obviously, there. Thankfully, that didn't matter.
That did not matter. So, but Kevin Steele did have good defenses at Auburn. Up until last season, he had 4 straight years of top 20 defenses, and they regressed everywhere last year, but they lost a lot of dudes. Now, they do have a lot of talent for Derek Mason. It's going to be a complete system shift, but there is talent there.
Yeah,
so
the system shift doesn't worry me. I trust Derek Mason. I think he's a really good coach. He'll have those guys ready. He'll have those guys prepared. This Auburn defense will look a lot like all the Auburn defenses that we remember that are really good.
I think so.
Will the offense be able to find anything? That's going to be the question.
The win total sits at 7. To go over is plus 120. To go under is minus 150.
Golly, this huge juice.
A lot of juice.
The weird thing is I find it strange that they won't move the line. They're just moving the juice.
It's weird. Like there's no half win here. Like Arkansas was 6, Auburn was 7. It's strange. Like I have to tell you, I think you knew what I was going to do on this. I'm going under because I don't believe that they will shift off of Bo Nix, and I just don't think that he's that good of a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean that means they got to go 8 wins to break this thing.
And when you're playing in the SEC West and you have to travel to Happy Valley,
yeah,
like I don't.
Well,
see
and your cross rival is Georgia.
Yeah, I mean you got at Penn State, at LSU, Georgia at home, at Arkansas, which ain't easy. No. You got Ole Miss coming in with Lane Kiffin at A&M. I mean, and then Alabama at the end of the season. Yeah. This team lost to South Carolina last year. I don't see it. I can't get.
I think this team's gonna be a lot better than last year's team.
I think you could go 6-6 and be a much improved version
of what you were.
100%. So going under 7, even with the juice at -150, seems like the much more likely scenario.
I just can't get to 8 wins.
I agree.
If they get to 8 wins, this is the. I mean, Brian Harsin needs to be up for Coach of the Year in the SEC.
100%.
I mean, that's just the truth, right?
Maybe nationally.
Maybe.
You get to 8 wins, that means that you have beaten at least somebody between Penn State, LSU, Georgia, Alabama, and A&M.
Yeah. No. You had to beat at least one of those guys and maybe 2 of them.
Exactly. And I don't think they can do it.
And not lose to Ole Miss or Mississippi State or Arkansas.
Exactly. Who are all on the come up.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. These are your boys.
Yeah.
The LSU Tigers. Coach O, go ahead and tell you what the win total is. 8.5. To go over, even money, +100. To go under is -130. And I went back and forth on this a lot, right? They were the least experienced team in the country last year coming in. They are now veterans this season because all of them got a lot of playing time. What does changing both coordinators again do? Like that's a big issue. Offensive coordinators Jake Peets and DJ Manga were with Joe Brady's staff in Carolina.
That's right.
They understand what he liked to do, so Coach O wanted to bring in and reinstall that 2019 offense that was so successful. Offensive line is absolutely loaded.
Yep.
Even without Rosenthal, who just transferred out, they're still going to be fantastic. Like, they have got a ton of speed, a ton of talent. Talent is never the issue. Like, it's chemistry with LSU for whatever reason. Defense finished 3rd worst in the Power 5 last year. And obviously, Bo Pelini tossed out the door. He was thrown off a bridge right outside of Baton Rouge. And the new DC, of course, Durante Jones. But they also brought in Miami defense coordinator, Blake Baker. And he is the linebackers coach. But he was fairly successful under Manny Diaz.
I was just about to say, I think their defensive coaching staff went
very improved.
Up.
Yes.
Big up.
Very improved. This is defensive line is going to be Coach O's deepest yet, I believe. Linebacker, it's a bit of a question mark, but you got guys.
We just got bodies. And somebody's going to come out at the end of the year. We're going to say, "Oh, that guy's a stud."
Yeah. Now the secondary, potential All-Americans all over the place. They didn't play well last year because Pelini put them out on an island.
No, they really had no.
And they dealt with injury.
They talk about this all the time. Like they've been very open in the media about not understanding where they were supposed to play and who was supposed to guard who, and it was just a thing where they were young, they were inexperienced,
and they got no offseason.
And Pelini was asking them to do something very complicated that they just didn't get.
Yeah.
So when one guy just goes rogue and says, "I don't know how to do that. I'm just going to do what I want, what I think is best," and then you get a dude that's wide open. This is the SEC. Even the worst teams in the country or in the conference offensively can hit a wide open receiver.
Yes.
Like that, and then it's a touchdown. It's over.
Yeah. And he never wanted to shift out of that man-to-man coverage.
No, he refused.
Like he refused.
He just refused. I think it's just going to, like I said, I'm biased. I have my own biases here. I think it's going to be just substantially different. Can this team go 11-1? No, I don't see that. I mean, I would love it. I'd be amazed. But that's not what I'm saying. I do think 9-3 is not outside of the realm of possibilities.
No, I've got them going over 8.5.
I got them going over. Going over.
I thought a lot about it, and I really do think that they're going to go over this year. I think that this is a transition back to what they were good at. I think last year, with all the inexperience and the COVID situation and everything that was happening across the country last year, it was just a bad situation.
This season with a win against Florida and a win against Ole Miss, the way they did, yes. I think these kids believe we're the best team in the country.
Yes.
I know that's crazy, and no fan thinks that. No analytical analysis thinks that. I think they think that.
Yes, confidence. That's
I really
what matters.
do. I think they pulled that game out against Florida. They pulled that game out against Ole Miss, and we just stopped the best offense in the SEC, and we just shut down one of the best football teams in the country, in Florida,
in their place.
At their place.
Yeah, with a freshman quarterback.
Yeah. So,
and
I don't know who's going to be the quarterback, by the way, and I don't know.
I'll tell you this. I believe it's Max Johnson.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of, basically the LSU brass is 50-50.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you the defining factor is do they really think they can make a national championship run or not?
Yeah.
Because if they think they can, it's Miles. If they can't, and they think, man, it'd be great to go 10-2 and next year be special, then you play Johnson.
That makes sense.
That's the deciding factor of that.
Whoever it is, whether it's Brennan or Johnson,
I think they'll be good.
I think either one's going to be fine.
I think they'll be good.
Either one's going to be fine. All right, moving to Mississippi State. Let's talk about Mike Leach and the Bulldogs real quick. 6.5 is their number. To go over, plus 120. To go under, minus 150. The juice, again, bananas.
Yep.
Like, it's insane to me. But is what it is. The year two under Mike Leach is always, like, a drastic improvement on offense. At Texas Tech, they jumped up 9 points over a touchdown. In year two at Washington State, they went from 20 points a game to 31 points a game.
I was just about to say 11 points, yeah.
They jump up almost 100 yards per game. It's year two is always the best, and I think it's going to be even bigger this season because they didn't have last season.
Isn't it weird that they're 6-6 based on the team total, but the ESPN power rankings has them as a top 10?
They had them at number 8.
Yes.
And the guy that runs that, now they have a whole team of statisticians that put that together, but they were back to being just a top 25 team when they reran the numbers.
But top 25 is not a 6-6 football team.
It might be in the SEC. Think about it. If you lose to, and so on this year's schedule,
there's zero chance a team with 6 losses is in the top 25. That's an insane statement.
FBI projects them to go 8-4.
Yes, I think that's more likely. Their record. I think this is an over easily. And you said you get plus odds at over?
Yeah, plus 120.
What do the bookmakers know that we don't?
I don't know. I've got them going under.
The power analytical department of ESPN thought they could be a top 10 team.
I see 4 guaranteed wins on the schedule. And even then, I don't know that they're guaranteed, right? I thought that surely they can handle Kentucky at home. Surely they can handle Tennessee State. That's 2. Then you've got Louisiana Tech. That's 3. And I've got NC State or Memphis. They're going to win one of those, at least. And they could win both. So that's 4. But then, and then there's Vanderbilt. That's a win as well. So that puts you at 5?
That's 5.
5. So I got to get to 7. And your games that would have been easier at home are on the road, like at Auburn, at Arkansas, at Memphis, Ole Miss, even at home. That was going to be tough.
It's the Egg Bowl. It's going to be a coin flip.
You're probably right. I've got them going under, but that's because I think it's much more likely that they improve to 6 wins. Because, they were 4-7 last year, went 3-7 in the regular season. I got them 6-6 this year. I can't. There's too many toss-ups for me, and I think they'd have to win all the toss-ups to be able to get to 7.
See, I don't need them to win all the toss-ups. I just need them to win one of the toss-ups because I think they're going to get to 6 wins pretty easily.
Okay. I'm going under.
That's fine. I'll go over.
I'm going under. Defense, by the way, 5th best in the SEC in 2020. Another year in Zach Arnett's 335. I think they're going to be good this year.
If their defense is better, Gary, then they're going to shock a lot of people.
I think they'll shock.
They're going to upset a bunch of these big teams that you think they can't beat.
Yeah, you might be right. The Ole Miss Rebels. Let's talk about Lane Kiffin. I, of course, massive fan. Both of us massive fans of Lane. And what they are doing there, the offense, just genius. Offensive design is genius. They put up points on everybody last year. It was awesome. They have developed Matt Corral into kind of a legit NFL caliber guy.
Well, yeah, he's the best quarterback in the SEC.
I'm going to go with either him or JT Daniels, but
he's head and shoulders better than JT Daniels. It's not close either. It's just not close. There's no numbers you can give me on JT Daniels to show that he's close to what Matt Corral is.
I worry about the interceptions.
That's fine. You can look at one stat. I'll look at all of the rest of them.
Okay.
JT Daniels played like 3 games last year. He didn't have a lot of interceptions because he didn't take a lot of snaps.
Agreed. I worry about the gunslinger mentality. Like, I do think he's fantastic. But either way, they lose Moore and Yeboah, the 2 top wide receivers that they had. And Yeboah was a tight end. But either way, running backs, Ely and Connor are back. 4 out of 5 offensive linemen are back. They are going to find skill guys. Like, Ole Miss always has wide receivers that pop up. So I don't think that's going to be any kind of an issue. Defense was a disaster, but this was the 3rd defense coordinator in 3 years there. They didn't have install time for DJ Durkin. They were trying to install, the 3rd different scheme. And these guys did not know what to do with it. And they don't have the dudes on defense.
No, they just don't have the talent either.
Yeah.
Last year's team was the least talented football team Lane Kiffin will ever coach at Ole Miss.
I tend to agree.
I've said that from all along.
This will be the best Ole Miss team since Hugh Freeze.
True.
Easily.
Fact.
Easily. Win total is 7.5. To go over is -125. To go under is -105. I'm rolling over, baby.
Yeah, I'm going over.
I'm rolling over. I think that they are going to smoke some of these teams, and they're going to be in a lot of shootouts.
That's right.
Scoring won't be the problem.
Hard to get blowed out when you hang 45-50.
You are so right.
All right, so there's one game I got to ask, because we're not going to ask you to break down the whole schedule.
Okay.
Do they beat Liberty?
Yes. I think so. I
so
think they got so many more.
I think that game is going to be unbelievable, though.
And you told me not to break down the schedule, but they play at Auburn. So they've got LSU.
That's the only one
at
I care
Auburn,
about.
And then Liberty, and then A&M is right behind it. So you've got like an SEC smorgasbord.
That's a 4-game stretch that nobody in the country wants to play.
No, not at all. And my God, they scheduled Liberty as like a homecoming thing.
Yes.
And now your ex-coach, the best coach that you've had there in however long.
In the history of the school. Come on
I don't know, man. Johnny Vaught was...
all right, go back to the 40s. Congratulations. Nobody watching this was alive then to me even make an argument of if that's right or not. Congratulations.
I would say that Freeze is better than Cutcliffe, right?
Yes. Cutcliffe was a one-trick pony. Cutcliffe was brought in to bring Eli.
Think about the coaches they've had there.
They were not good.
Coach O, like all these guys that have gone on to be better elsewhere.
Yeah, but Cutcliffe wasn't better elsewhere either.
No. I would say that he did.
Tommy Tupperville was much better at Auburn.
I think Cutcliffe was more appreciated at Duke than he was at Ole Miss.
Okay, all right. If he left there and went to Vanderbilt, he would have still been more appreciated.
This is true
because he went to a school that doesn't care about football.
You're going over to 7.5 too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Finally,
Vault. Jesus Christ.
Texas A&M is going to wrap up the SEC West. Jimbo Fisher finally got the ball rolling last year, went 9-1. Now, did they run from Ole Miss at the end of the season?
No.
I'm just messing around.
Everybody had COVID problems, and not one person said they ran from them.
I know. The win total for Texas A&M this year is 9.5. To go overs -115. To go unders -115.
That is a 10-2 record.
Yep. And I feel pretty good about it. The season's going to come down to this quarterback battle. Haynes King, like he's got 4.5 speed, but the other guy, Zach Calzada, I mean, he's so much more accurate with the ball. He's a better passer. He's got a perfect deep ball, man. I don't know what they're going to end up doing. It depends on what Jimbo wants to run with. If he's looking for more out of the passing game, it's going to be Calzada. If he wants the dual threat option, it's going to be Haynes King. I don't know which way it goes. King was the backup last season for Kellen Mond. Offensive line loses 4 out of 5, but man, like they got their best one back. That's Kenyon Green. And the Aggies have always been able to develop offensive line.
I was about to say, they're just going to roll in 4 new guys that, are not freshmen. They've been on this team. They know this scheme.
Yes.
They know this blocking scheme. They know how to work together as an offensive line. I think their offensive line is going to be fun.
Tight end, Jalen Watermeyer.
Going to be really good.
Going to be really good. The wide receiver room, not going to load. You won't know a ton of those names
yet,
but they have got dudes now. They got speed now. They got all kind of stuff. Isaiah Spiller back at running back. Like, offense is going to be just fine.
I think the offense is going to be fine.
Also, you know how much love I have in my heart for Mike Elko.
Yep.
That defense,
best defensive coordinator in the conference.
They've got legit hosses on the defensive line. They have got all kind of players. Like, their recruiting has been really, really good. They got players everywhere, and I trust Mike Elko no matter what is going on. I think that he will be able to stop teams. So, with that said, I'm going over the 9.5.
I am too.
I think they're going to get to 10. Like, I think it is much more likely they do 10 as opposed to 9.
If this team finished 11-1, it wouldn't shock me.
Wouldn't shock me either. I could see them winning the SEC West this year.
I could see them.
Like, if they were going to do it, I feel like this would be the year. You know, like
it's hard to say because they're starting an unproven quarterback.
Agreed.
So that's a tough expectation, but it just wouldn't surprise me because I think Jimbo's been building to this for a long time. He also, remember, won his national championship with a true freshman quarterback.
Yes. I don't know that Haynes King or Zach Calzada are going to be Jameis Winston, but
hang on. You don't know that they're not.
Exactly.
All right. Was Jameis Winston anything special, or was he a product of Jimbo Fisher?
He was a redshirt freshman.
Because after Jimbo Fisher in the league, he pretty much just throws the ball up in the air, and if his guys come down with it, great. And if the other guys come down with it, great. He doesn't care.
You're right.
He didn't do that at Florida State.
No, you're so right about that. So right about that. All right. Moving to the SEC East, let's start off with old Danny Mullen and the Florida Gators. Number sits at 9 for their win total. To go over is -125. To go under is -105. So the way that those work, the bigger number, they think it is much more likely that they will go over as opposed to under, which is kind of surprising to me. I think 9 is the number.
Yeah,
I think it's right on.
Good number.
So I was hoping for a half here somewhere, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. They went 8-4 last year, which is just bananas because they finally won the East. They had all these things going in the right direction, and they put up a worse record last year than they did over the last 2 seasons before that. So they went 11-2 in 2019, 8-4 last year, but actually won, their division. I don't think you can take anything away from the bowl game that they did last year. I mean, it was just a disaster. Emory Jones brings a true dual threat option at quarterback. This is
Dan Mullen style quarterback.
Yes. This is Dak Prescott.
Yeah, Dak Prescott. This is
Tim Tebow. This is, everything. Like, this is exactly what he does, and he's so good at it. The offensive skill weapons, we're not going to know a bunch of them, but they still got dudes.
Yeah,
you'll know them.
Fine.
The entire offense is going to look different, but I trust that side of the ball.
That's right.
We're not going to have a problem there. Secondary, they did not click last year for defense coordinator Todd Grantham, and man, his attacking, aggressive defense has to have that secondary click. Yep. They just didn't do it.
They got burned.
Yeah,
they got burned last year a lot.
And they lost games where they scored 38 points, 46 points. It just no reason to be losing games like that. But alas, I think Grantham has done enough with Dan Mullen at Florida and Mississippi State. Everywhere that he's been, I think he's allowed a mulligan season. I don't think last year was a telltale sign of what's going to happen in the future. I think they got hosses again this year. Defensive line was thin, but they've got talent. They brought in more guys. I think this is going to be a good team. I think they're going to surprise some people. I cannot get them to 10 wins. I think some of these toss-up games, I feel like they're going to win one and lose one, right? Okay. So I've got them at 9-3, but I like the juice on the under, so I'm going to take the under 9. But I am questioning myself.
Yeah, I'm going over 9 because I think 9's a floor. I don't think this team's losing 4 games.
I do wonder about Emory Jones and his ability to throw the ball. Because while we think that he's the perfect prototype quarterback for Dan Mullen,
I'm not worried about that at all. Have you seen some of the quarterbacks that Dan Mullen made really good?
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Nick Fitzgerald,
I was just about to say, who was
Mississippi State that could not pass the ball?
That guy.
Joe Moorhead.
That guy might not be the best quarterback in the room if you walked in this room, all right? And he was the number 1 quarterback in the SEC the year before Moorhead got there.
Yeah.
No, Dan's ability to make anybody great at quarterback. When I have arguments with people about Dan Mullins should be considered a far better coach than people give him credit for. He's goofy and he's unlikable. You can't be weird and unlikable. But the reason he keeps jobs for a long time is because he's really good at them.
Yes, he wins. He just knows how to win. If you think that they're going to win the division, by the way, plus 300.
Yeah, I know. So, and I like that, by the way.
Yep.
I've got a ticket on that already.
To win the conference, plus 1,200.
Yeah.
So there you go. The Georgia Bulldogs, Kirby Smart doing his thing. They are going to have to reload a little more than they are used to this season, but I feel like they finally got their quarterback. I feel like second year under offensive coordinator Todd Monken, I think this is going to be good. Their win total sits at 10.5. To go over is minus 140. To go under is plus 110. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going over the 10.5. Like, I really think that this team, I think they're going to beat Clemson in week 1. I think they are going to roll through the schedule. When I'm looking at it, like, they lost to Florida last year and it was ugly. I think they are going to be looking for revenge in this spot. This is JT Daniels and Todd Monken's team. Without George Pickens, there's still plenty of receiving talent. I don't think it matters. They brought in former LSU tight end Gilbert. They're running him at wide receiver. Like, they got a plethora of weapons on that side of the ball. Now, even after losing 6 NFL draft picks on defense, Dan Lanning's defense is still going to be fantastic. Like, they have got studs. They are the number 1 most talented team in the country per the recruiting rankings. They got dudes everywhere. And on top of that, on defense, the only question really on defense was the secondary. So why don't you just go ahead and bring in West Virginia's best secondary player, Tyke Smith, and you bring in Clemson transfer, former 5-star, former all ACC guy, Darion Kendrick. Like, they shored up everything. Like, I think if Georgia's going to do it, this is going to be the year. I think they go undefeated in the regular season. I know that you are not a Kirby Smart fan,
Nope.
And I'm not a big fan of the coaching either, but I think that he's got 2 coaches that he doesn't have to be involved in the game day stuff.
But he's still involved in the game day stuff. If you showed me footage of him sitting on the sidelines and letting those guys coach, I'd believe you.
Yeah.
But how do you lose to teams like South Carolina?
You get involved.
Kirby gets involved.
Yeah.
What's the price?
To go over is minus 140. To go under is plus 110.
Yeah, I'll go under and I'll take the plus 110.
Da-da-da.
I need him to lose.
You need him to lose 2 games in the regular season.
And in this schedule,
you've got Clemson.
They have to play Clemson. They have to play Auburn. They have to play Florida. And then the rest of the SEC, which you assume they're going to beat. Once again, we make assumptions about this team all the time.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. We will move on from there. And this one is one that I'm quite excited to talk about. The Kentucky Wildcats. Mark Stoops just continues to build this program. He has shown that he is able to, every year, develop talent that nobody else can find. It's unbelievable. They had 6 NFL draft picks last year.
This is what Dan Mullen did at Mississippi State.
Yes.
They're very similar in the fact that one's just an offensive guy and the other is a defensive guy.
Yeah. They went 5-6 last year, won a bowl game over NC State, who was actually, 8-3 in the ACC, and they showed up to the bowl game 4-6 and handled NC State. So, new offensive coordinator, Liam Cohn, I wrote it down wrong. Cohen. Comes from the Rams. So he's got a little Sean McVay. He got to touch the golden boy, I guess. Quarterback Will Levis comes in. Wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson transferred in from Nebraska. The offense has had basically 0 passing game for 2 years straight.
Yep.
Even when they got Terry back last year, he still couldn't throw the football. And somehow they were still able to stay in games. They were able to win some games that they weren't supposed to. So, of course, you hate to see Eddie Gran get fired, but they had to do something to build up that passing game because you cannot win big in this league if you don't. The defense, Mike White has had he's had great defense after great defense after great defense. He's got a challenge this year. 5 of the NFL guys were from that 2020 defense. But at the same time, they got Ole Miss's leading tackler coming in. Jones transferred in. They got other positions that are going to be young, but they got dudes. Like, they will be able to develop these guys, and they have been developing. I think Kentucky's going to be good. Like, To go over, so their number is 7.5. To go over is plus 120. To go under is minus 150. This is another one where I love the team.
I'm just trying to get to 8 wins, though, man. That's
8 is tough. I think this team could be 7-5 and be drastically improved.
Yes.
I'm going under.
Yes, they could be amazing at 7-5. A really, really good football team at 7-5. Or, yeah, you just can't get to 8.
I can't get there.
8.
I mean, Florida, LSU, Georgia. Missouri's on there. Louisville, I don't know what they're going to be.
That Florida, LSU, Georgia, that's 3 games in a row, too, by the way.
Yes.
That's back to back to back to back.
We don't know what South Carolina's going to be with Shane Beamer, but South Carolina has more talent than they do. You got to play at Mississippi State. Like, it's going to be very difficult to get to 8.
Yes.
Very difficult. So
there is a hodgepodge of Kentucky, South Carolina, Tennessee, like
in the East, but
that are all
in the same spot is Arkansas, Mississippi State. Like, I think they're all very similar right there.
The difference is these teams in the East, I think, are significantly worse than the teams in the West that are in that same spot.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. I'd take State over all 3 of those teams.
You might be right about that. You might be right.
They got to win those 2 games. They got to beat Missouri. They got to beat South Carolina. They got to beat Tennessee.
Yeah,
they got to win those games if they want any chance at sniffing that.
I agree.
There's a world where they lose 2 or 3 of those games. 2 of the 3 of those games.
FPI's got them going 7-5.
That sounds
about right. And we're both going under the 7.5. So the Missouri Tigers, Eli Drinkwitz surprised people in his first season. Right. Started out with the former 5-star Sean Robinson at quarterback last year, and before the first game was even done, he had swapped over to Connor Bazelak. And Bazelak was the second highest QBR of returning starters in the conference. But impressed, man. I mean, he was a freshman coming in and showing up. 4 out of 5 offensive linemen are back this year. I trust Drinkwitz. I trust him on offense. He just knows how to run these. He knows how to develop skill talent. They're going to find a way to score points.
I agree.
One way or the other.
I did not like this hire. I did not think he was going to be that good. He has impressed me a lot.
Now, the win total is 7. To go over is minus 135. To go under is plus 105. Looking at the schedule, I can see some spots where they could get got. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm curious your thoughts on this defensive coordinator hire. Steve Wilkes, former Arizona Cardinals head coach with defensive coordinator for the Browns.
That's right.
And I got no idea what to expect. I mean, the defense has got some talent.
Yeah, I like NFL coaches. I think NFL coaches are better than college coaches for the most part. So, yeah, if you were a head coach at the NFL level, and I don't want to talk about his record because that was a team that was openly tanking.
Yes.
And then they fired him for doing exactly what they wanted him to do. So I like Coach Wilkes a lot. Will he immediately walk? He'll make them better than they were.
Yeah, they were very much bend, don't break. I mean, there were spots.
Yeah, how great can they be with the personnel they've got? At some point in time, scheming's only going to get you so far. Yeah. You got to get home in the line of scrimmage with your pressures, and you got to be able to guard these just stupid athletic receivers that are coming into the SEC.
Yeah. I have written down over 7.
I would go with
the win total.
I would go with the plus.
Plus 105 to go under.
Yeah, but that's not a knock on Missouri. It's strictly a price thing.
Yeah,
the price to get to 8 wins is so high.
They got to play at Boston College.
I think they're gonna get this. The real thing is I think 7's the number. I think they get there.
Yeah,
I think you take this ticket and you turn it right back in.
From the other side, they've got Texas A&M and at Arkansas.
I think there's a world where they lose both those games.
They could lose both of them.
Because that at Arkansas is not going to be fun.
I wrote down 7. I think, I'm going to go over just to be different because I know.
Getting them to 8 wins is just something I can't. I'm not getting them to 8 and paying that price. That's the difference. That's the argument.
Yeah.
It's what, minus 140?
You know what? I'm doing the same thing. No, it's minus 135.
135?
So I'm doing the same thing as you. I'm going plus 105 to go under.
Because I know 6 seems small.
Yeah.
But it's not really that 6. It's do you think they'll get to 8? And if they slip up in a game.
Yeah, and that's entirely possible.
Then you're at 6.
Yeah.
If Tennessee is better, if South Carolina is better, if, Kentucky is better.
Yeah.
You're not getting 8.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You're not losing 2 of those 3 games and getting 8.
No, you are dead on about that. All right, finally, we got 3 teams at the end of this that projections are not exactly high on. We'll start off with the South Carolina Gamecocks. Shane Beamer coming in. Highly impressed with Shane Beamer so far.
Yeah.
This looks like another one of those, Sam Pittman to Arkansas culture fit kind of things. Shane Beamer just feels like he fits South Carolina. Their new offensive coordinator, Marcus Satterfield, worked with Joe Brady in Carolina, worked under Lincoln Riley in Oklahoma, along with Shane Beamer. The quarterback, Luke Doty, showed flashes late last season. He brings speed and elusiveness that they have not had there since, I think, Connor Shaw.
Yeah, I was about
to say
since Shaw, probably.
And the offensive line looks like they're going to be fine. They got a stud running back in Kevin Harris. They need their wide receivers to play well because they've got a veteran group, but, man, they were inconsistent. So many drops but I wonder how much of that was, last season after just a little bit, they didn't care anymore, and Muschamp got fired, and why are we even doing this? A lot of them.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Defensive line is loaded, absolutely loaded with former top 100 recruits and whatnot, so they're going to be fine there. They will need to work on the secondary, for sure. I think the goal on defense in Beamer's first season is just simplify it. Simplify what they're doing. Go out. Don't do anything crazy. The win total is 3.5. To go over is -170. And to go under is +140. I love Shane Beamer. But, man, that +140 looks really juicy. And when I'm looking at this schedule, I think it's possible that they could get beat at East Carolina. I think it's possible that they could lose these games to, Tennessee and whatnot. I fully expect them to beat Vanderbilt. But, you still got Clemson on the schedule. You got Georgia. You got A&M. You got at Missouri, Auburn. I'm going to go under the 3.5 because I like the +140. I think it's a price thing.
That's a huge, huge plus, but there's no way. I think this team gets to 4 wins pretty easily, and that's with not even a lot of coin flip. I just think they do.
I don't know. The Troy game kind of scares me.
You respect Troy, you respect East Carolina way too much.
Maybe so.
This is not SEC ball. Not that SEC teams are immune to losing to these types of teams and losing these games, but that means they get swept by all the other teams that we think are in that same little wheelhouse of theirs. They lose all of those games. They upset nobody, and they get upset by somebody. I just think that's a lot to ask. The reason the price is so high is because you're basically giving them free money.
Yeah. No, you might be right. You might be right. Moving on, the Tennessee Volunteers, Josh Heupel, another first-year head coach. And I don't know what to make of this team. They lost a ton of guys to the transfer portal after last season. This is a total offensive scheme change under Heupel. This is the least talented Vols team since Butch Jones was there, for sure.
Yes.
Honestly, maybe before Butch Jones. It might have been when what's the guy that was the Louisiana Tech coach?
Dooley?
Dooley, thank you. They lost all of their studs. All of them. Now, they did bring in transfers.
The word stud pretty loosely. They lost their best players.
They lost their best players, yes. Quarterback Hendon Hooker transfers in from Virginia Tech. Joe Milton transfers in from Michigan. They've also got Harrison Bailey, who we think could be the future. He's the one that played the best in the spring game. Brian Maher is still there. Should make a fun, quarterback battle, I guess. The offense, I think, is going to find ways to score because Heupel always has, right? I think I can trust that side of the ball. The talent drain on defense, this is going to be a bottom 20 unit in the country. Regardless of what the defense coordinator Tim Banks does here. He's shifting them from a 3-4 to a 4-2-5.
That's right.
And I think that's a lot to fit the personnel that's left.
I would agree with that.
But their win total is 6.
Yeah.
And to go over is +100. To go under is -130. And
it's 6 because they've got 4 gimme wins on this team.
Yeah.
So you're asking them to win 2 games.
I don't know that some of those are gimme wins. At Vanderbilt's a gimme. maybe. I don't know what
We're having a
Clark Lee's going
different
to do.
conversation then.
Bowling Green is, Tennessee Tech is.
South Alabama's not.
Yeah, South Alabama's
Okay,
a gimme.
so they got 4 gimme wins. So
Four
we're
gimmies.
asking them to win 2 games. And we just talked about how they're in this hodgepodge with Kentucky
South Carolina,
and South
Kentucky,
Carolina,
Missouri.
and Missouri. And can they win 2 of those games? Or upset somebody because Heupel shows up and does something
But
weird.
at that point, you gotta get them to win 2 just to get to 6.
True.
Can they win 3 of them?
That's right. I don't know.
I don't think they can. I've got to go under the 6.
Okay. I'd go over, but just I don't have a lot of faith in it. I'm making a pick.
Well, yeah.
I like Heupel. I think this offense is going to be significantly better than anything they've been in the last decade.
That makes sense.
I think they can score. And if you score and you catch somebody sleeping, you can win. You can win a game you're not supposed to win if you can put up points.
Yeah. If you think that they can get to 6 and they're possibly going to get to 7, I mean, you get plus 100 to go over the 6.
Yeah.
Like, I'm giving up 130. Yeah. So that is the way it goes. We got one more team. The Vanderbilt Commodores. Clark Lee coming in. I got a question to start off this preview here, because there's not a lot to this preview.
They're a bad football team.
I wonder if I should worry about Clark Lee hiring a bunch of his buddies that, like, he went to school with and stuff like that. Like, I feel like you want your coaching staff to have camaraderie and all that, but I also wonder, this guy he finally got his head coaching job at the school that he went to, and then he went and hired a bunch of his friends, and I don't know that that's always the right route to go. Like, I don't have any complaints about any of the people that he hired, but I also wonder, are these all going to be yes men, or are you guys really close to the point where they feel like they can be honest about the way you're doing stuff? I don't know. It's a strange scheme. I really I want this hire to work.
I had more of an issue with him, like, not giving people numbers.
Yeah.
And, you got to earn your number. Like,
old school,
come on, dude.
hard
It
head
is
mentality.
2021, and you're the coach at Vanderbilt. If anybody needs to earn the right to be in this room, it's you. Because everybody that's been in the room that's stood in your place have been awful, all right?
Yes.
I earned my right to be here because I actually show up and work out and play football for this shitbox team. And we're not good, but we're trying. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Earn your whistle.
Last year's offense was as bad a P5 offense as I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Now, the quarterback, Ken Seals, did flash some, but he looked good in spots, but there was no consistency. Just the offensive line wasn't good. There was nothing good about last season. Like, there were spots where they, like, stayed in games somehow, like Texas A&M. Like, that was less than a touchdown. I have no idea how that happened. But either way, it was the first game of the year, is what it is. Defense was dead last in the Power 5 in 2020, and that is after being next to dead last in the P5 in 2019, and that's under Derek Mason.
That's with a great defensive coach.
This is a massive rebuilding job. I trust Clark Lee as a defensive coordinator. I mean, he's been at Notre Dame for the last however many years.
I can't believe they went back-to-back defensive coaches.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, but they are putting. I will say this: they are finally putting in the financial means that you have to be able to compete in this conference. But I am curious about the hiring.
I'm going to ask a question about this situation. This is a very disrespectful thing for Clark Lee. I don't mean it to be, but do you think this is a Croonin type situation, to where things had just gotten so bad at Vanderbilt to where we're just not even respectable? I got to bring a Vanderbilt guy in. We're going to stabilize the program to some type of respectability. We're going to put a lot of money into it. We're going to get people excited about it, even if we're bad. And then we're going to hire the next guy, and he's going to have a foundation laid.
Somewhat like Mike Shula at Alabama when they had to hire Shula in, like, May.
That's right.
Or whatever. I had not thought of it that way.
Because I thought.
But it's entirely possible.
The only reason this guy got the job was because because you do have to have a Vanderbilt guy for that. I don't think you can bring in an outsider who has no connection to the school and ask them to do that because they're not going to build the foundation you want.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that has to be an inside guy.
Like, I will say this, the fact that Clark Lee got a job before Mike Elko surprised the absolute
I think
mess
Mike Elko could have gotten a lot of these jobs. I don't think Mike Elko wanted to.
It's entirely possible. He could be like Venables.
He sees a chance to win a chance. I don't know that. I think he might want to. I think he sees a chance to win a championship at A&M with Jimbo at some point in time. And if he goes and takes a program over, he's taking over a rebuild. I mean, nobody's handing him the keys to a program like that.
Yeah.
So that's the issue. Is I think, let's say A&M has a magical season this year, next year, whatever, and they win it all. I can see Elko walking.
There you go.
I think Aranda did the same thing. I mean,
yeah,
so,
entirely possible.
Anyway,
let's close this thing
what's
out.
their total?
Vanderbilt's total's 3.5.
I'm going under that. What's the price?
I'm going under.
What does it cost me to go under?
Over is -105. Under is -125.
That's not enough. I'll go under.
I'll go under as well.
I think this
under 3.5
is 3.
Yeah,
and there's a world where they lose 2 of those games.
I mean it. Like
if they lost to Colorado State and UConn, it wouldn't shock me. They
are projected underdogs to Colorado State.
Yeah,
by a touchdown.
By a touchdown. Holy crap! They probably are going to lose that game then.
Yeah,
that's the ceiling was 3. I didn't say they'd get to 3. That's the roof they're bouncing their head off of.
Yes, it is.
So
yes,
4
it is.
Just not happening.
Oh my gosh! All right, let's talk about the conference championship game. I am going the old school Alabama versus Georgia. It's chalk. I know you hate it. Hold on. Let me guess yours.
Okay.
Is it A&M Florida?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Who you got winning?
A&M.
I got Georgia winning.
I think I got A&M winning it.
A&M beating Florida.
I really think this is Jimbo's year. And the only thing that worries me is I don't know who his quarterback is. And then I thought about it, and then I realized about a week ago he didn't have a quarterback at Florida State when he won it. He made Jameis what he was.
Yeah,
Jameis was a freshman quarterback that nobody had ever seen play before.
Yeah.
Why is that my worry when everything else looks to be in play? Now some of these guys are unproven. That offensive line, unproven. These wide receivers, unproven. But they all been in the system. They're all true freshmen. They're all 18-year-old kids.
Yeah.
I think at some point in time, Jimbo's going to show why he's worth all the money he gets.
I think you might be right. All right, that is going to wrap up the SEC preview, and that is the end of the conference previews.
That's it.
So it is time for the season to begin. We are rolling into August. Do us a favor. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Again, like this video. If you feel like arguing with us, you can always jump in the comments, or, again, you can reach out to us on Twitter. I am at GaryWCE.
I'm at Chris B. Giannini.
And head over to SBRpicks.com/NCAAF. The link is in the description. It is your one-stop shop for your college football gambling content this season. It's right there. Link in the description. Right next to the like button. Right next to the subscribe button. Chris, anything else we need to add?
That's it, brother.
That's going to be it. You guys have been fantastic. For SportsbookReview.com, I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And we will see you all again next time.